The LM Drive. LM Drive. This is the LM Radio Drive with Gavin Buckle.
It is The Drive on LM Radio and Magic 828. She has been nominated for Grammy and Brit Awards and won Ivor Novello and BBC Radio Awards. The song there written and performed by Joan Armatrading. Of course, it's Drop the Pilot, taken off her 1983 album The Key. The song spent 10 weeks on the top 40 charts and 6 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. Not so much as dropping the pilot, but more like dropping names. I am honoured now to have the opportunity to chat with the lady herself. It's Joan Armatrading. She is the very first British female singer and songwriter to gain international success. In 2001, she was honoured with an MBE, which is a member of the British Empire. In 2020, more recently, she was awarded a CBE, Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Good afternoon and welcome to Joan Armatrading.
Gavin, hi, good afternoon to you as well, and to everybody in South Africa.
You were born on the Caribbean island of St. Kitts, formerly St. Christopher Island in the West Indies. However, you didn't grow up there.
Yeah, I was born in St. Kitts. I left there. My father was from St. Kitts, my mother was from Antigua. So left St. Kitts when I was 3, went to Antigua, obviously with my parents, and then left Antigua when I was 7 to come to England, which is where I've lived ever since. So I love the West Indies. I have been back to St. Kitts and Nevis. I've visited and Antigua, and I absolutely love it. And I know this is my birthplace. But really my home is Britain. This is all my memories are from the UK.
Do you still have family that live in the West Indies?
Do you know, I don't know.
You've lost complete touch of them.
I don't even know that.
But as you say, home for you is the United Kingdom. Even though you have travelled globally, is there a second country or island or destination that if the UK wasn't home, you would choose to live on?
I think I'd live on the UK.
So for you, 100% the UK is home.
Yeah, I love the character of Britain. It's a clever place. The world is a clever place. You know, everybody in the world, there's lots of incredibly clever, dedicated scientists, authors, academics. There's all kinds of people who are super, super clever. But Britain, this tiny island, just has a wealth of stuff that you just wouldn't expect to come out of this little place. And we talked about the MBE and the CBE, and the E of those two things is empire. And at one point, Britain had an empire. And again, Britain does not have an empire any longer. Let's forget that. Let's really, we need to think about changing the empire bit to maybe excellence or something. But you think about this tiny country that was able to persuade half of the world. There was a point in history when, if you looked at the map of the world, it was covered with a colour that represented all the places that Britain governed. How incredible that this little island could do that. With what? With speech? I don't know.
And intellect, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
To a certain degree, you're downplaying the honours that have been bestowed on you, but it is definitely a major honour, both of them.
Oh yeah, no, any honour, whether it's just being nominated for a Grammy or a Brit Award or whatever, or being given an Ivor Novello Award for writing my songs and becoming a fellow, and all the different awards that I've been given, it's a huge honour. I've got honorary degrees from universities. I do have my own degree that I studied incredibly hard for and took all the exams for, and I'm really, really proud of that. In fact, I would consider that my proudest achievement, kind of above everything else that I got my degree. And I don't go with people who say honours don't mean anything and awards don't mean anything. I question those people who say that.
So you consider your degree even a higher status and a greater accomplishment than all of the music accomplishments that you have achieved to date?
I do, only because I kind of had nothing to do with being able to write. You know, I was born and I was given the talent. I did nothing. I mean, I write the songs and I'm in charge of everything, and I write, arrange, produce, I engineer, I play everything. So when you hear this album, it's just me on it. You hear the last album, it's just me on it. You hear the album before, it's just me on it. So that's great, and I love that I have that talent. But I didn't really do anything to get that talent apart from be born. Whereas when I did my degree, I had to work in a way that I wouldn't work if I was writing. When I'm writing, I can, if I want to write a reggae song, I write one. If I want it to be 10 minutes long, it can be 10 minutes. If I want it to be 2 seconds long, it can be 2 seconds. If I want it to be a song about trees, it can be a song about trees. If I want it to be a song about love, it can be a song about love. When you do an exam, you must do exactly what they tell you. You must write it at a certain length. If they say 1,000 words, you've got to write 1,000 words. If they say write it with this kind of speech pattern, that's how you have to do it. If they say turn this in at 2 p.m. on July the 2nd, you've got to turn it in at 2 p.m. on July. So you're really kind of constrained, you're confined, you're governed by somebody else, not just my brain, just me doing whatever I want. And that's in itself a challenge, and I found that very, very interesting, to have to be forced to do this thing. It was. And the other thing was, I took the exam. I did the course while I was on tour, so I'd be in Australia and I'd have to get my essay back to the UK. And even though email was available at the time, they didn't want you to email things because it was very, very new. I got my degree in 2001, so go 5 years back, and I had to be extra early to be able to post it from Australia or whichever country I was in. So that's another constraint as well, because I'm on tour, I'm doing a gig at whatever time at night, then I have to, after the gig, go back to my hotel room, write out my essay, quite tough, and I say very different. So that's kind of why I enjoyed it as well.
So you're saying you have a natural aptitude when it comes to writing, producing and making music. However, when it comes to the more academic things, it's a lot harder.
Well, it's different. It's different because what I'm doing in a very free, unconstrained way. I don't need to get anybody's permission. I don't have to hand it in at a certain time. I mean, when I make my records, it's always me that says to the record company, here's the record. The record company is not saying to me, we need a record now. So it's always me that's in charge. Whereas doing a degree, I'm not in charge at all. I've kind of got no say about it at all. All I've got to do is do what they say if I want this degree. So that's why I find it so interesting.
And don't you find that the older you get, the more difficult it is to face things like exams?
No. But I'm not taking exams now. I've done it. I don't need to, unless I decided I wanted to go for a MA or a PhD or something. No, I don't think so. I think you if you keep yourself interested, even if it's a little bit harder, I don't know. But if you keep yourself interested on top of things, I try and keep myself. So, like when I started writing, I started obviously just with my guitar and and the piano, and I would put my songs down on whatever was available then. But then it was cassettes, then it was 2-track, then it was 4-track, then it was 8-track, then it was 16-track, then it was 24-track. So I would always keep up with whatever was happening. So and in the same way now, as soon as it became computer based, I used computers, so I try and stay on top of it so that it's not a big kind of learning curve to move with whatever's happening.
It's not a quantum leap for you.
No, because I don't want it to be. I like an easy life. I like things to be, I like things to be easy. I don't have to struggle with stuff, And I think if you do that, then you don't have to struggle so much.
Going back to your younger years, did you manage to maintain a close relationship together with your parents as well as your siblings?
You've heard me say, I'm sure people have heard me say many times, that I think a private life needs to be maintained. So I tend to not talk too much about, my family, friends, stuff that I've done. People might say, well, that's a trivial thing. Why can't you just say, if you've maintained the question that you've asked? But to me, that's part of my private life, so I'll just keep that.
Moving on, your heroes in life. who have been your heroes in life?
I don't have heroes. I have people that I think are just the most incredible people in the world. And what would the world be like without them? Of course, Nelson Mandela has to be there. What an example of a human being. Somebody who's compassionate, who recognize other human beings' frailties and failures, but can forgive them, who can set an example to others to have those same principles. Absolutely incredible. And I mentioned again about scientists. I think, my goodness, how do you come up with being a brain surgeon? How do you figure out all these little channels and avenues in a brain to sort out certain dysfunctions that are happening there? How do you sew back on a limb? How do you do stuff like that? How do you come up with rocket fuel? How do you send people to the moon? What is that? That's amazing. So all of these people, if you go to music as well, how do you come up with some of the music that people come up with? I mean, I enjoy people telling me how much they enjoy my music, but there's loads of musicians who are so incredibly talented, who can play their instruments in a virtuoso way and who can write incredible songs. You look at somebody like Bernstein, goodness me, come on. So the reason I say I don't have heroes is because there's just too many people who are just too good. They're so good.
But to a certain extent, you must consider yourself part of the talented fraternity in the music industry?
Well, I've got to admit I'm quite big-headed about what I do. I do think I'm good. But at the same time, I know that there's loads of other people who are good, so I can't get too big-headed about it, because when I die, the music does not die. That's the beauty of having talent, is that talent lives on, and there'll be other people coming along to take the place of the people who have passed. So, when Frank Sinatra died, crooning, that kind of music didn't die. You've got Michael Bublé carrying that on. So you've just got to acknowledge that your place in the world is just a place in the world. You are not the world.
But to a certain extent, music, in a way, is eternal. Even if, as you say, Frank Sinatra died, even if Michael Bublé didn't come about, Frank Sinatra's crooning type of music, in a way, would live on forever.
Well, certainly the music that he gave to the public would live on forever. But if nobody picked it up, then it would be an ancient music. It would. I'm not going to say it's a dead music, but it would almost be a dead music if all you were doing were just listening to it and not partaking of it and not kind of emulating it. You need people to do it for it to stay alive, and that's the beauty of it. People still do it. People still play jazz bands, big jazz bands. People still do kind of crooning sort of stuff. People do ska, jazz, blues, rock. All of it keeps living. And the big thing now is rap and trap and all the different forms of new music that there is. And that'll live on as well, because people will take that up and they'll do their interpretation of it, and it'll do what it has to do. But you can't just let it be this, otherwise it's just a dead thing. It's like dead languages. They're languages that people know, but nobody uses them. That's really not what you want, is it?
Going back in the years, for the very first time when you performed, you were only 16 years old, and it was at Birmingham University. You had originally planned to perform your own music. However, you were persuaded to do a cover version, and you chose The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Why that specific song?
I have no idea. I was probably guided to it as well, because I was just into writing my own stuff. As soon as I started writing, I just wrote my own stuff, and I didn't really learn other people's stuff. But it's a really good song. I like the song. It's Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon, who was the writer of all of the songs of Simon and Garfunkel, was an incredible writer. Of course, at 16, I don't know that he's an incredible writer like that. But certainly over the years, you get to appreciate that he's a very talented person. But I was so obsessed with writing, which is probably why I didn't learn other people's songs and didn't kind of try and play other people's songs. I just did my own thing, and that's kind of what I still do.
Back in 1978, you performed at the Picnic at Black Bush, and you performed alongside Bob Dylan and Eric Clapton. That surely must be one of the landmark performances that you did.
Oh, well, absolutely. It is a landmark performance, and people, you said 1978, which is true. People today still talk to me about that concert. They still say I was there. And it's also still, I think, holds the record of the most attended concert by a performer that wasn't a festival, because it wasn't a festival, it was his gig, and all the people that were on it, he invited to be on it. So that was what was really nice as well. Bob Dylan is, I mentioned talented, clever people. I would say he's one of those talented, clever people. Who just manages to write incredible words. Somebody once said to me, "Oh, Bob Dylan, all he does is write verses. But if you listen to his songs, they're not just verses. They're well-crafted songs.
And they're incredibly powerful. There is a message in every single song.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. I think the person who said that to me, they kind of missed what the songs were about and missed the incredible talent of Bob Dylan, because he's had hits from Jimi Hendrix to Adele. I mean, that kind of tells you the talent of the person, because there's two completely opposite sides of a musical.
The opposite genres.
There you go. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of.
Speaking about talented, you play a 6 and a 12-string guitar. That isn't very common. Having a look at the fretboard, how do you manage to get your fingers all the way across 12 strings?
No, it's not easy to play a 12-string. It is a challenge. But you do it. I have no idea how you do it, but you do it. So I play. You heard me mention that on the album I'm playing everything. So whatever you hear on the album is a bass, a guitar, a mandolin, a mouth organ. Whatever you hear, certainly from 2003 until now, is really just me. And then I play. If I'm playing the bass, that's fine. There's certain things that you wouldn't want me in your band playing. I can play it for the song, I can play it on my album, and great. But there's other things that, yes, you would definitely want me in your band, because I'm pretty good.
Why do you choose, when you record, not to record with the band? Why do you choose to do all of the instruments yourself?
Well, for my demos, I always played everything, and I engineered my demos as well. And then in 2003, I decided that actually it would be quite nice to do it on an album. And I enjoyed doing it, so I just carried on doing it. And I do it because I can. I've read reviews of albums that I've done that's just me, and they've said, "Oh, the band was great." And I thought, yeah, great, that's me.
And is it a bit of a quantum shift when you go live and you have to then perform together with a number of other artists simultaneously?
No, it's great. Love it. I mean, that's one of the pleasures of being a musician is working with other musicians and playing on stage with other musicians at the same time. And but the pleasure for me when I'm doing a concert is that, because I write the song, the musicians know that they have to do a certain thing so that you recognize what the song is. It's no good them, it's no good me saying, okay, well, now we're going to play Drop the Pilot, and they're all playing Blue Suede Shoes. They've got to play the thing that makes you know this is what you're playing. But at the same time, they're talented people. I don't want robots behind me. I don't want them playing everything note for note every single night. I want to be able to look around and go, oh, wow, that was brilliant. I want that. And that's the pleasure of being on stage, is that you'll hear something different from them every night, and you'll hear something different from me every night. That's the pleasure of it.
So no two performances are identical?
No, I don't want them to. I want to hear, they're talented people, as I say, and you don't want to restrict them so that every single note, that's going to be boring. I'd find it boring, and I don't want to be bored on stage. That's the last thing I want. So I don't want them bored on stage either. So they know what they've got to do. They know they've got to play the song in the way that people recognize it. They know they've got to play the song in the way that I need them to play it. But they also know that they've got the freedom. If they want to play 3 notes there instead of 1, they can do it. If they want to play no note there because they feel that gap might be nice, then they can do that. And that's the beauty of it. That's what's so great. There's so many versions of Love and Affection. So many, because it's going to be you're going to know it's Love and Affection, but it's going to be different.
Going back to what you mentioned earlier on, your degree, you have a BA degree in history. That is a bit of a departure from the music career that you have had for so many years. Why did you choose to follow a BA degree in history?
You sometimes hear people say they're not interested in history, but of course then they'll go and ask their grandparents what they did when they were younger. That's history. So we're all interested in history, really. So that's kind of the answer. It's just a very fascinating subject.
So not just music and not just history, you're also a bit of a fitness fanatic. Back in 2008, 1 month before your 58th birthday, you ran your first marathon. It was the New York Marathon. And also, you helped raise £76,000 for charity. So you're into your fitness as well?
Well, when I was younger, I'm 70 now. When I was younger, I was so obsessed with walking, cycling, not running so much. That's why the running was so late, at 58, 59. But I was obsessed with just, being out there, and loved it. Don't do quite so much these days, but you can't beat walking. Is just such one of the most wonderful things. You can just so get lost in walking, can't you?
It's amazing for the soul, and when you walk, there isn't that separation between you and nature. We are so used to modern means of transport, whether it is the tube, the train, the car, but there is an isolation. And if you walk, you become one with your surroundings.
Absolutely. And one of the things I used to love when I was walking, I mean, I still walk, but not as far the distances that I used to walk. I don't do so much. But you would see all kinds of you'd see little mice or voles or, the rabbits or just butterflies, flowers, wildflowers. You'd see all kinds of things that if driving in a car, you're just not going to notice. You're never going to see that because you're whizzing past it. And you'd get things whizzing past you, something running across your path or something. And that was really nice. That's lovely. And just feeling the wind in your face and just the sun on you and just the freshness of the morning, because it's nice to walk early. The freshness of the morning, great.
Going back to your music, 18 June, it is the release date of your brand new album, Consequences. As you mentioned previously, you don't like things to sound the same all the time. Will this album be in a similar type of genre as your 2018 album, Not Too Far Away?
It's similar in that I always write songs about love. Most writers write songs about love. but I try and write it in a different way. And everybody, when they fall in love very differently. Some people are quite quiet about it. Some people are very passionate about it. Some people are too passionate about it. So I just look for how the different ways are happening. So that's an ongoing theme in all my music. But I do like to, for instance, the last album I wanted to be quite acoustic, so it's got a lot of acoustic guitar on it. This album I wanted it to be very keyboard based, so there's a lot of keyboards, whether it's actually piano or synth things. So I try and work out what I want the album to be about, or how I want it to sound, what I want it to be like, and then kind of head for there. But the theme, I think that's what I'll always be writing about.
Interesting, the album is going to be released on CD, vinyl, and then of course digital formats. If you have a look, majority of the CD stores here in South Africa have closed down. Vinyl is all about is obsolete in a sense, but obviously digital formats means you can download it. In your neck of the woods, can you still buy CD and vinyl?
When was the last time I bought an album? I think you can, because the record company produces all of these, and you see different artists produce their albums like this with vinyl, CD, and of course digital. And I remember being in America. I was in this shop. And the whole wall was vinyl, and at the whole wall was a whole bunch of young people. So I went and spoke to them and said, "Well, why are you buying vinyl records so much?" And they said, "Well, we just like the artwork. We love the bigness of the square thing. We love the artwork. We love the sleeve. We can read all the notes. But when we play it on our headphones."
For me, it is a sad part of the culture that most of us have lost. If you go back to your youth, and I know with me, 50% of the joy of buying new music was the album itself, because you had the album with the sleeve art, and then the inner side of the album you would also have the protective layer, which had different forms of art on it. And I used to become so upset when my friends would either borrow my records or come over, and then they would drop the cover and the cover would bend, and for me it was ruined.
Yeah, I wasn't a big record buyer, I have to tell you. I was a big writer of songs, but I was never a big record buyer.
Really?
Yeah, I did buy some records, but I haven't got a great big collection of records. I never did really.
The first single to come off this album is called Already. It was released recently in May. If you don't mind...
There, it's called.
Sorry? Already There.
It's called Already There, yeah.
It was released in May. If you don't mind me just going over some of the lyrics. You just told me you loved me for the very first time, and it feels like I'm flying and the sky is all mine. I'm floating on air. Let me tell you my secret. I've never said it before. While you were falling in love, I was already there. Beautiful lyrics.
Thank you very much. It's about falling in love it's a different way of saying love at first sight. And when two people fall in love, I'm not looking at every single two people falling in love, but I think most of the times it'll be one person falling in love instantly and waiting for the other person to catch up. That's what this is about. And when the line says, "You just told me you love me for the very first time," that's that person catching up. And it's a positive, it's a really good love story, because here they are, this person's been waiting all this time for this person to fall in love with them, and finally they're in love with them. They've seen them through all the different heartaches, they've seen them through kind of going out with other people and thinking, well, I'll just wait, I know that it'll happen, and then it happens. It's nice. It's got a great video of two people dancing, which I think is beautiful, how they dance together. I'm just there singing. I think they shouldn't have had me in the video, actually. I think it should have just been the people dancing.
And obviously that video is available on YouTube.
Yeah, it's available on YouTube.
Speaking about things online, your upcoming global live stream, it is Joan Armatrading with band live from London. It's happening at 8 p.m, that's GMT, in other words 10 p.m. here in South Africa. And it's happening at the end of July, 31st of July. What can we expect from the performance?
Well, you'll expect songs from all the different albums. And so, you'll hear Drop the Pilot, you'll hear The Witness in Me, Me, Myself, I, but you'll also hear Already There and other songs from from this new album. And it'll be me on acoustic and electric guitar, it'll be a bass player, drummer, keyboard player and sax player. And we perform in this beautiful church. It's like a rundown church, but it's beautiful. It's got lovely stained glass windows and just nice. It just looks nice, even though it's kind of knocked about. It's really nice, lovely. So looking forward to that. And the rehearsals have been great. We sound really good. So I want people to come and see it. You can. I mean, the beauty of it, you'll be sitting in your house and watching the television, going out and having a cup of tea whenever you want and coming back and enjoying the music. It'll be great. Please come.
I look forward to it. In conclusion, you have stated you were born to write, so will never retire from writing. Does this still hold true?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, this is why I'm here. I'm here to write. It's my job.
It is your purpose.
My job. This is exactly why I was born. That's why I say I can't take credit for what I do, because all I did was be born. I did nothing else. The talent was given to me, and it's my job to use it well. So that's what I try and do.
Wonderful, amazing. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, Joan.
My pleasure.
And here we go. That song we just mentioned, it is already there.
You just told me you loved me. The LM Drive. LM Drive. Baby, you can drive my car. This is the LM Radio Drive with Gavin Buckle.